People never gave a about us until now, when they finally realized that the chain is being broke now. Cars won't come in. Food won't come in. Clothing won't come in. You know how many people depend on our jobs? Half the world. And it's time for them, and time for Washington to put so much pressure on them to take care of us, because we took care of them.
Now, on the other side, you have the United States Maritime Alliance, who runs these ports, who say they came to the table with a 50% increase in wages. But again, the longshoremen are demanding 77%.
And passionate remarks there. Briefly, Tremaine, how big of an economic impact are we talking about?
So again, we're only on day one, Zinclay, but we're talking about the possibility of a $4.5 billion hit to the economy every single day. Right now, as products aren't moving in and out, serious, major players in the game, Home Depot, IKEA, Samsung, all in this state of flux. So we're talking about a huge impact, billions of dollars every single day, Zinclay.
All right, Tremaine Lee, thanks so much. Right now, emergency responders and volunteers are working on rescue missions, cleanup efforts, and rushing aid to survivors in the aftermath of Hurricane Helene. At least 130 people have died across the Southeast. President Biden is expected to see the damage firsthand tomorrow in North Carolina. Vice President Harris set to do the same in Georgia. Entire communities have been ravaged, not only cut off physically by destroyed infrastructure, but communication resources, including cell phone signals and power services, are also severely hampered. NBC News correspondent Sam Brock is in hard-hit Asheville, North Carolina. Sam, the Red Cross says in just the past 24 hours, they've received 3,000 new requests from people looking for loved ones. That also comes as there's this scramble to get essentials like safe drinking water and food. So what are people telling you?
And Zinclay, I'm so sorry I lost my communications with you for a second, but I believe what you were asking about was the number of people who have been reported missing. And it's so interesting because we see this with disasters a lot, Zinclay, where you have a massive number at first because the telecommunication network and infrastructure is so compromised. Then police and local law enforcement and certainly the state and FEMA get to double checking and cross-referencing these 911 numbers and going through house by house and trying to figure out how many of them are actually legitimate. And that number comes way down. It is something actually that we've seen so far today, officials saying they've drastically reduced the number who are unaccounted for. But now you mentioned the Red Cross upping that number again to 3,000. So clearly there's a lot of fluctuation here. There's so much acute need as well, Zinclay, and I really want to touch upon that specifically. The kinds of conversations that I've had today from folks who are just trying to get water for their kids, parents. I'm out here at a community center where they have finally loaded up on bottled water, but for the longest part of the day, it was cycling in and out, and at times there was not much water left because people needed so much. The water treatment plants here have all been compromised. The method of delivery to get the water to homes has been destroyed. So we're seeing that. I also met a woman who was waiting for an hour at a grocery store to get basic supplies. Her father is on dialysis. She had to be charging his oxygen machine inside of her car. And yet she sees so much good in terms of people helping one another to get through this. Here's a quick snippet of what her life has been like recently.
The community, friends, neighbors. We've relied heavily on neighbors, just the communication piece. Now when I talk to family members, if we're able to get out, I want to know what's going on. What are they saying? What are they asking us to do?
Incredible stories of resilience. Sam Brock, thank you so much. Well, for the first time ever, the Justice Department is launching a federal review of the Tulsa Race Massacre. In 1921, a white mob attacked the Greenwood district in Oklahoma known as Black Wall Street. The massacre started after a young black man was accused of assaulting a white woman. He was later cleared of any wrongdoing. Hundreds of black people were killed. More than 1,200 homes, businesses, and buildings were destroyed. The Assistant Attorney General for Civil Rights called it, quote, one of the deadliest episodes of mass racial violence in this nation's history. NBC News Justice and Intelligence correspondent Ken Delanian joins us now. So, Ken, first, why is the Justice Department doing this right now, and how exactly will this review work?
Zinclay, this came after some lobbying by descendants of victims and community activists, and it's being done under a law called the Emmett Till Cold Case Act, which is named after another infamous civil rights murder that empowers the Justice Department to do this. And one reason for the DOJ to weigh in here is that there's a lot that still isn't known about what happened. For example, there is a theory that white people wanted to steal the property of black people and that the assault that was DOJ's Civil Rights Division will use some of the same techniques it uses for criminal and civil investigations, but instead will publish a report likely by the end of the year. And they say that anyone with historical documents or information should send an email to their cold case email inbox at coldcase.civilrights@usdoj.gov using the subject line Tulsa Race Massacre. Sinclair.
I mean, really great information, Ken. And you mentioned the descendants and survivors and victims who've really just been fighting for justice and accountability for decades. How are they reacting to the DOJ taking action now?
Yeah, as you can imagine, they are very gratified. Take a listen to two of them.
And this long overdue action is a step towards acknowledging the immense suffering endured by survivors and their descendants.
So people who may not understand this passion and those who have been part of this fight from the very beginning, know this today: we will never stop fighting.
Now, the city of Tulsa has its own review ongoing of this massacre, and the DOJ says they don't expect to conflict with that. They're going to do an analysis under existing and previous civil rights laws to sort of report on what laws were violated here. Sinclair.
Certainly groundbreaking. Ken Delanian, thanks so much.